Advanced transcription number 21, speed 100 words per minute. Start. Mr. Deputy Chairman, sir, let me say at the outset that I too, like millions who voted this government in, am deeply enthused by the prospects of a transformation of our country's governance and politics, and make no bones about either my optimism or high expectations from this government over the next 60 months. Sir, even the most generous amongst us will admit that the country is facing serious and challenging times, a headwind self-created by many years of extravagance, poor governance and brazen corruption. The tasks, therefore, for this government are neither easy nor simple. The problems can't be whisked away or tackled through statements and announcements alone, but with months and years of hard and decisive governance, actions and management of the economy. Sir, I believe the President's address is a good first step, and this, along with the forthcoming budget, could provide the necessary stimulus for our economy to recover and transform it to a sustainably growing, investing and a job creating economy. Sir, while I support the motion, let me put forth a few suggestions to the government. First of all, sir, I hope that regardless of the majority or strength in Parliament, this government adopts an approach of consensus and is sensitive to all sensible opinions made by parliamentarians, big or small. Humility and consensus is more consistent with the notion of public service that Prime Minister Modi has described politics to be. This in itself would be a big departure from the arrogance of the last 10 years, where it seemed that opinions of small parties and individual MPs didn't matter in any discourse. Sir, I have a few more suggestions. Some colleagues in the opposition have talked about maximum governance and minimum government. I believe, sir, that the call to maximum governance and minimum government is absolutely the right thing, both in terms of the cost of the government and the effectiveness of the government vis-a-vis the citizens they serve. The per capita on a PPP adjusted basis, the cost of our government is surely amongst the highest in the world, and if adjusted for governance, effectiveness is probably amongst the least efficient in the world. Sir, I would argue that the concept of minimum government is not just about ministers with multiple ministers, unless these are bound together with cost saving and efficiency synergies. Some of the combinations currently do not pass that test, and such bundling could actually end up slowing down the decision making. Sir, maximum governance, on the other hand, apart from a hard-working government, ministers and bureaucracy must also be expanded to mean rebuilding or creating new independent institutions like regulators and equipping them with budgets and capacity. The maximum governance theme needs to be expanded into deep, decisive governance reforms that hinge around improving throughput and responsiveness of government and at the same time creating transparent, independent, credible institutions of governance, not some symbolic effort like the previous administrative reforms commission, but a deeply felt need to modernize and make more effective performance of government and its institutions. Sir, this re-architecting and change in our governance is critical to the future of our country. The capture and corrosion of our institutions by politics and vested interests has to be reversed. Sir, we are a $1 trillion economy. That was also mentioned by some friends in the opposition. But the size of the economy and the statistical news fed we have been fed over the last few years cover up the serious structural flaws. These flaws have come home to roost with 12 quarters of GDP decline and almost full stop of investment and government finances that have taken us to a fiscal precipice and is now resting there thanks to some adept bookkeeping and accounting in recent times. It is criminal to address these structural issues in our economy and government finances if we are to set the economy back on a sustainable high growth path. Let me quickly summarize these structural issues. Sir, the first one is the fiscal responsibility and the whole architecture of government spending. The second one is the structural problem leading to the financial and banking sector. The financial sector, which was for many years seen as a clean and well regulated one, is today plagued with allegations of money laundering and other perceptions that make investing in India high risk investment. The other big worry is the health of PSU banks, which are owned by the people of India but seem to have been run like some people's personal freedoms and lakhs and crores of NPAs dominating their balance sheets and writing off taxpayers' equity. Regulatory competence here again needs to be examined, which allows 9 to 10 industrial groups in this country to borrow almost 90% of the Indian banking system's net worth and creating the not too big to fail syndrome, putting the banks and taxpayers on the hook rather than the promoters. Mr. Deputy Chairman, I thank you for the courtesy. Our country is today confronted with so many catastrophes, difficulties, problems, and so many subject matters which we have discussed here and which we will be discussing later on. In short, our country has been facing so many problems and so many circumstances today. Thanks are due to the President for this historic and illuminating address. He has thrown light all round on all the aspects of things which took place the year before and which are existing before us today and which we will have to face hereafter. The President's address has received an historic reception not only in this house, but it has received a splendid reception outside also. There is no doubt that things which have been discussed in the historic address of the President are worth taking into very serious consideration, and after passing the motion of thanks, we will go out to act upon that. It cannot be denied that our country, in spite of our limited resources and so many situations.